all, my name is Corey Colton, and I'm doing a video for my company Inflection Point Coaching. I will soon be doing live streams, but for some reason I'm in Facebook jail, so we're getting that all straightened out. This will be my first video for the company, and many people have asked me, how did you come up with that name and what does it mean? And so I thought I'd explain a little bit about that before we get into today's subject. An inflection point is a point in a graph or a curve where the line changes direction and then ascends rapidly. The most familiar version of this right now is probably the COVID hospitalizations and COVID infections graphs, where the curve changes direction and then ascends. We don't maybe necessarily want to think about it in that negative way. We want to think about it in a more positive way. And what I do is I help leaders and teams to get to that inflection point and then ascend rapidly towards success. So I want them to achieve joy and passion. I want them to have more energy in their leadership and their work and align it to their values and to what's meaningful for them. And so that's inflection point. I had my own version of this about 5 years ago. I went from leading teams of frontline employees to leading large teams of 90, including directors and senior managers. And my old style of leadership was not working. And I was at an inflection point in my career. And either I adjusted my direction and ascend rapidly or fizzle out. So I help leaders and teams navigate those inflection points. Today, I want to specifically talk about a subject that is important to me and critical for leaders and teams to succeed, and that's psychological safety. What is it? How do you know if you are enabling it? And what happens if you don't? When I think about psychological safety overall, I remember my own experience as a new leader. So imagine being cornered in your office by your new team. That happened to me. When I was a young leader, I was tasked to hire a team focused on managing training offerings across a larger segment of our company. And suddenly I went from a wet behind the ears frontline employee to leading a team of 5 high-level training coordinators who managed leadership development programs across the globe. One cold, rainy morning, they came into my office one by one, and they closed the door and said, "We have to talk." What I came to learn in that intervention and in subsequent ones would change the trajectory of my career and help me navigate an inflection point. I was failing at the most important part of my role as a leader, enabling a culture of psychological safety, although I didn't have the words for it then. Previously, managing these programs was a one-person job, and I was a star performer. One leadership principle instilled in me by my boss was to hire the smartest people to do the job, which I gladly did. I had great respect for all of them, but I also had a solid operational playbook of my own that I expected them to follow to get the work done. So while they felt welcomed and included on the team and were able to make mistakes and learn, I was not open to hearing their ideas and allowing them to challenge the processes I had established. So what is psychological safety? Psychological safety allows team members to bring their full selves to work, to be rewarded for their knowledge, contributions, and ideas. It combines respect for the team's ideas and expertise with permission to use those ideas to help the team to make better decisions and innovate. Without psychological safety, it's difficult for teams to stay aligned to the culture, collaborate effectively, or achieve goals consistently. The term psychological safety was first coined back in 1965 by Edgar Schein, and since then there's been a lot of research into how psychological safety aligns to behaviors and outcomes. However, there's been no clear framework to understand it or enable it within a team or organization until now. Thanks to Dr. Timothy Clark and his company Leader Factor, we now have a clear and actionable model to understand and enable psychological safety in teams and organizations. It's called the 4 stages of psychological safety. Those 4 stages are inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety. And when these 4 stages are present in an employee or a team, there's no limit to how the team innovates or succeeds. So what was I doing wrong back in my early career? Remember when I said I was barricaded in my office? While my new team felt included and able to make mistakes and learn, I was not enabling them to contribute their best ideas and make a difference. Necessarily, I was also not hearing their ideas to make things better. Ultimately, my behavior caused massive frustration for them and left them feeling like worker bees just going through the motions. The team's message to me was simply this: you hired us because we're smart and can do the job. You don't need to do this job anymore. Let us do the job and you focus on bigger things. In other words, get out of the way. It was a valuable lesson I needed to internalize, and I needed to do it fast. And I'm grateful that it came early on in my career. I was lucky my team had the courage and strong desire to challenge the status quo despite my hovering management style. Many times, teams don't have that courage, and leaders are faced with a quiet and compliant team. They get the job done, but at what cost? If you've reached an inflection point with your team and your leadership, and you wish to change the direction to achieve passion, joy, and innovation in your workplace, I have an invitation for you. Join me on January 13th, 2021 for a live virtual training on applying the stages of psychological safety to your business. I'll hold 2 2-hour sessions, same sessions, one in the morning and one in the evening for scheduling convenience, and you can choose the session that best accommodates your schedule. Next week, I'll speak in more detail about the most fundamental stage of psychological safety that you need to master to start your journey, and that's inclusion safety. Contact me at inflectionpointcoaching.net for more details about the upcoming psychological safety webinar and for information on how to enroll. Thanks so much for spending time with me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week.